That was the dumbest thing you guys could have ever done. Hey guys, it's Sierra. Welcome or welcome back to my channel. This video is going to be a little bit different. These are all of the Degrassi characters that I think deserve a second chance. And I will also give a reason why I think the producers failed this show. So I'm just going to go ahead and dive right in and give you guys a summary. We'll go through each graduating class and narrow down the characters I think that deserve a second chance. And then we'll go back to the question of why I think the producers failed these characters when it comes to the show. But I'm just going to say this now. I love Degrassi. I love it so freaking much. But that doesn't mean that it's avoidant of criticism. Because a lot of us Degrassi lovers, we have a lot of criticism when it comes to the show. Not only just from characters, but it could be from storytelling. It could be because of the whole Netflix situation that came about with Next Class. There's a lot of different bits and pieces that come into it, but I love Degrassi, but I think there are a lot of things I wish they did better on. So that's gonna be this video. Alright, for those who do not know the show, Degrassi was a Canadian television show that aired for about 34 years or so, give or take, if I'm correct. It started off with the kids on Degrassi Street all the way up to Degrassi Next Class that is currently on Netflix. And within the span of the show, they cover a lot of topics that not a lot of shows do, or at least maybe not a lot of Canadian shows did at the time. And all the characters on the show, I would say, had very interesting backgrounds. And some were interesting and others weren't actually fully fleshed out, but the show had an amazing run. It was ruined. it was essentially ruined when it got over to Netflix. I don't even remember all the details on how that happened, but it just it didn't do what Degrassi has always done, which was have a solid fan base. I'm not sure if it was maybe the generation wasn't watching it at the time. I think also Euphoria came out when Next Class was on Netflix, so maybe a lot of Gen Z was viewing Euphoria or watching different things, so they weren't watching Degrassi as much, or maybe Degrassi wasn't hitting certain notes with this generation that it used to hit with previous generations. So maybe it was like a disconnect, anything. But I'm going to dive into the classes and we're gonna see which characters I would actually give a second chance to and which ones, yeah, that but I'm gonna dive into each graduating class. So there might be some names where you're like, wait, but they were introduced in this season. Trust me, I know. But we're just gonna break it down by graduating class and navigate the characters that I think deserve a second chance. All right, starting off with class 2006, our characters are, I'll be putting the pictures up. We have Hazel, Jimmy, Marco, Jay, Ashley, Terry, Craig, Spinner, Paige, Rick, Ellie, Alex, Amy, and Heather Sinclair. All right. I'm gonna give like just a little bit of information for each. If you haven't seen the show, go watch the show. It's all on Tubi. Just letting you know, it's for free. Thank God. But start at the beginning so you can really like piece together these characters. But for those who have seen the show, you know what I'm about to get into. But starting off with Hazel, let's just say we didn't see much of our girl really. We get a storyline of her being Muslim and really struggling with that. But more so, she's Jimmy's girlfriend for the most part of the show. And Paige's sidekick, lackey, for the most part. Like, that's really all that we got from Hazel, so there's not much to say on her. Jimmy is played by, obviously, everybody knows him, Drake, but I'm gonna call him Aubrey Graham. But Jimmy was a basketball player dating Hazel. For those who are watching, who know the show, we all know what happened. Jimmy gets shot, he ends up in a wheelchair. Moving on. We get Marco, which is one of our, in this generation, our first gay character for the next generation. that's really all we got from Marco too, to be quite honest. We get Jay, he is like our resident bad boy. There's always has to be a bad boy in the season. We have Ashley, she is our straight A, type A, stuck up sometimes character. Rude, I would say kind, sometimes pretentious. Like that's what Ashley gave off on the show. And she was Jimmy's first girlfriend at the beginning of The Next Generation. Hazel and Jimmy end up dating later. Anyway, moving on. Next we have Terry. Terry is technically, because this friend group was terrible anyway, technically Paige's and Hazel's friend, but also Ashley's friend. It's a very weird dynamic because Ashley and Paige don't necessarily like each other too much, but whatever. Anyway, Terry struggles with self-image. She ends up having a boyfriend who is very abusive. Yeah, and then she just fizzles away. We get Craig. He is our he's not even a bad boy. He's our misunderstood guy. He is diagnosed as bipolar later on in the show. Think about, was it season 4? I can't remember, season 4, season 5. I might be wrong. His dad used to abuse him. He lost his mom years ago, and Joey from Degrassi Junior High and Degrassi High. Joey is his stepfather, really? Yeah, it's a stepfather because his mom, Craig's mom, ended up divorcing his dad and marrying Joey, and then they had Angela. So yeah, that's a little bit on Craig. Spinner is Spinner. I feel like there's not much to say about Spinner. He is our not the brightest boy.
Just what? You're jealous. You want the spotlight all to yourself. Spin, you move like a wounded polar bear, buddy. I'm sorry. Yeah, I get it. I can't dance because I'm white. What? That's not what I'm saying. Yes, it is. Polar bears are white, I'm white, and you're racist.
But he's funny, sometimes very rude and just... But it's Spinner. We have Paige. She is our resident mean girl, popular, cheerleader, snarky, love her. Rick, the abusive boyfriend. Ellie, she is our misunderstood, depressed girl. Her dad is in the military, so he's constantly gone. Her mom is an alcoholic, so she does a lot of like raising herself, and she goes through her own mental health journey. She's very depressed and very lonely, really. That's like what you get a lot of from Ellie. She's very lonely. We have Alex, part of the residential bad boy, bad girl duo. Alex doesn't really do much of anything at the very beginning. And then we have Amy. I don't remember Amy. Oh yeah, Alex's friend Amy. If you know the for those who know the show, you remember when Alex punches Amy on stage for sleeping with her boyfriend, but it was actually Emma that did it. Yeah, I remember that now. And then we have Heather Sinclair. Heather Sinclair is just name dropped. There was no actress who was tied to her. We don't know what she looks like. She's like Degrassi's running joke throughout the entire franchise, really, to be quite honest, from Next Generation even onward. Like, she's still referenced, but no one knows what she looks like. So out of this class, I would have to give this a three-way tie. I would have to give this a three-way tie between Hazel, Jimmy, and Alex. I think those are the three characters I would redeem. Number one, Hazel. Hazel didn't get any storylines. She only got the fact that she was Muslim. Like, I get it, especially at the time during 9/11. But y'all could have used her a lot more. Like, I don't even know, but I don't have anything in mind of how they could have used Hazel, but they could have used Hazel a lot better than they did. Because she was more than just like Paige's lackey, just always there around her or just being snarky. Like she had more potential than that. And this also goes into Jimmy, because really the whole premise of the late, not even like the later half, but technically like the later half of their generation, it's just Hazel and Jimmy dating. We don't really see them, we don't see what their dating life is like. We just know that they're dating. So I feel like with both of them, we could use them a lot better because of that. Because I would have loved to seen what it was like for them to date each other. Maybe, I don't know, maybe Jimmy's family is kind of hesitant that Hazel's family is Muslim, but they're both black. So maybe that type of like kind of situation between different aspects of being of different parts of being a black person. Like Jimmy's family is rich black people, very prestigious. I think his dad was a lawyer and his mom was like an accountant or something like that. Like they got money. Like they have money on the show. And then with Hazel's family, we just know that she's Muslim. We don't know what her upbringing was like. We get a little bit of a snippet that some girls held her down and punched her before she came to Degrassi. We don't get anything else than that. In the image that she shows of her family, it looks like it was just her and her parents, I think. I didn't see any other little kids, so she doesn't have any siblings. So maybe we could have seen what Hazel's life was like growing up Muslim in the house, having Jimmy's parents interact with Hazel's parents, and that kind of tension between different communities, especially within the black community. There's still like, it's kind of like the discussion of African American versus African people in America, like the complete, or even just like Africans overseas, like just the difference of it and the tension of the culture clashes too, but also just not understanding each other. Because especially as an African American myself, I never had friends that were African. There was no one in my school, but you know the kind of stuff that they would say, or even when it comes to like Indian people too as well, of just like, oh, your food smells, why do you wear that, why do you look like that, or the disgusting joke that people used to say back then in school in terms of African people. I won't repeat it because it is disgusting. Oh Lord, I won't say it, but if you know, you know. But they could have done something between them, and they could have done a lot more with them. Also with Jimmy, I was watching my favorite YouTuber, BriBreezy, who does a lot of Degrassi videos, and she pretty much like broke down Jimmy's whole purpose on the show. He just dated everybody. He didn't really do anything. We get a snippet of him liking art, but we never knew he liked art, and then all of a sudden he has a crush on Ellie. Like, his storyline's always centered around a girl. And it was very disappointing. That, and that he liked that he played basketball, and that was like his livelihood. But we didn't get anything else outside of that for Jimmy. And I feel like they could have done a lot more with Jimmy besides just having him date a whole bunch of girls. Like, I just mean, there's just so much more to work with, especially with him and Hazel. Y'all could have really showcased their relationship. And then with him getting shot, which, by the way, where he got shot at is not in his spine at all. So the whole fact that he was paralyzed from the waist down, it didn't really work. But still, they could have showed like what it was like to get shot. It could have been like maybe some PTSD from that situation, because it was a very difficult scene and a very difficult like past few episodes, feeling all that tension, everything that amped up to that moment. So I feel like Jimmy didn't even have to be in a wheelchair, but we could have seen a teenager struggling with PTSD. That would have been interesting to see maybe how he and Hazel navigate that whole incident with Rick, how they communicate with each other. It could have led to like a fight or something, a blowout. It could have just been handled differently for both of them, I would say. Like, we could have used them a lot more. And then Alex. They give Alex like a redemption later on in the show. I think around like, oh God, what was it? Like maybe like was it like 2008, 2009-ish? This is when this class is actually in college. So this is when they filmed the scene when they're the season that they're in college. They kind of give Alex a redemption arc, but then they kind of take it away when she sabotages Paige's work opportunity. I feel like y'all could have done a lot more with Alex. Like Jay, we left Jay how he was for a while, which is completely valid. But we don't always need every single character to be like the mean character or like the bad boy. Like they could have used Alex earlier on, especially if we're gonna see Alex and Paige together. I would love to have seen that earlier. I feel like it felt like it would have been a lot different. That's also something I gotta talk about in the why before I ramble on too far. But those are the three characters I would say from the 2006 class that deserved a lot better. I did not say Heather Sinclair because she is literally the best running joke of Degrassi. We don't need to see her. Like, it's just, she's iconic for that, of just like having no face but snarky remarks. You guys know the mini of Heather Sinclair and all the things that she says, and she's supposed to be behind the camera, and it's so good. It's so funny. I feel like Heather Sinclair would have been a boss ass bitch. Very rude. But she was on another level than Paige, I would say that. But those are the three characters I can think of to redeem, to give them the second chance. Moving on to class of 2007, we have Sean, Damien, Toby, Emma, Manny, Chris, Lucas, Liberty, and JT. So, starting off with the first character. I won't give any more like, oh, this is who, and who is. If you're watching this video, you should know these characters. So we have Sean. I'll give my little snippet of what I think of Sean. Sean, bad boy, misunderstood. We don't see much of his home life, obviously, because he is living with his brother. We do get snippets of what he was like. Very aggressive, very reactive. He is also very reactive in the show in terms of when he talks to Emma about certain things. But here's the thing, Emma can trigger anybody. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it was Emma's face, because sometimes she would just get like that, like those weird stares. Like I feel like it was like one of the episodes where it was when Manny wanted to be a cheerleader, and you could see Emma standing on the other side of the door.
Whoa, they're crazy.
FYI, your attitude sucks. Good luck making the squad.
Outside of the glass door, just like staring at her. It's those kind of stares. Like Emma, something in Emma makes people snap. It's kind of weird and slightly uncomfortable, but granted, Sean has been through a lot. He dates Emma, and things just take a turn for him all over the place, to be quite honest. It feels so, I can't say it feels like disjointed, because it feels like it's in character, but at the same time, it's so odd, because it's like he wants to be a better person, and we'll get snippets of him like slowly becoming a better person, or like at least like making certain decisions, and then he revolts back, which I get it, because you know they're still young, they're gonna make dumb mistakes, but just especially when he comes back later during the whole Emma and Peter situation, oh god, it's just all of that development for Sean just like went away as soon as he's around Emma. Like I just said, Emma triggers something in people. I don't know what it is, but now like after watching BriBreezy's video and just like thinking about it, like in general too, like piecing everything together from her videos and also some other YouTubers I watch. I think it's Jane Mulcahy. I think that's how you pronounce her last name. She's done videos before. I don't know if she's that active now, but she's done some videos of Degrassi. But yeah, I don't know what it is, but something about Emma just makes people just like lose their minds a little bit. I don't know, because even Manny does it. she does it towards Manny a lot too, and Manny will snap. And I don't know. It's just interesting. Damien, useless, pointless. I don't know why y'all even had him there. And that whole love triangle square thing situation was so stupid. It was so stupid, so unneeded. We did not need that whatsoever. Toby, absolutely love him. He is literally the cutest kid. He has like the longest lashes. I absolutely love Toby. Emma is Emma. There's a lot of people that say Emma is like one of the worst characters. Some people say that they kind of like Emma. I think Emma is just who she is. Like, in terms of like, if I knew Emma and if I went to school with Emma, I wouldn't associate myself with her, but I also wouldn't talk shit. I just wouldn't be around her. Like, literally, if I see her walking this way, I'll walk the other way. Like, I would just avoid her. I'd be like, you know what? Ain't none of my business. Because she's just extremely, like, she can be very overbearing. She's always in somebody's business, so she's extremely nosy. She always got something to say, too. That's why I'm like, I would go the other way, because like I said, Emma would make somebody snap, and she would make me snap if she'd been my business. I don't know. Something about Emma just, it's an aura of hers. I don't know. It's so odd. We have Manny, who is a lot of people love Manny. They say like Manny's their favorite character. Some people will say like not that Manny is like a terrible character, but they'll like point out Manny's flaws. And trust me, Manny has flaws. But out of like the two classes, just 2006 and 2007, she's, I would say, easily one of the characters I like the most. Her whole situation with Craig, it was very naive, very immature. Like how they describe her on the show, like how BriBreezy even BriBreezy said in her video, she's very much a romantic. And so as it's described in the show, like her dad doesn't let her go out to school events. She doesn't go anywhere. She doesn't do anything. So she has a lot of time at home. She probably fantasizes a lot. She's probably literally me when I was younger. Just like very much in her head about just like, oh my goodness, one day my true love's gonna whisk me away from this very like secluded life type of thing. It's giving Rapunzel. Like, that's what Manny gives. So of course at the beginning she was extremely desperate. But I will say Manny's line, "You're just jealous," is truly iconic. Also her looks were on fire the entire show. I will say that. Minus one hair stint. I'm not gonna go any further. We have Chris, Emma's ex-boyfriend. He was beatboxing for no reason, which is one of the reasons I will get to of why the producers failed with these characters. I mean, that's later. If you know where I'm going with it, you know where I'm going with it, to be quite honest. Like, Then we have Lucas. Oh yeah, Mia's baby daddy. Right. I was like, who's Lucas? Pointless, useless. I don't really care for him. Anyway, moving on. We have Liberty, our nerd turned teen pregnancy trope, which is so weird. I thought it would have been, because we already had Manny. So I don't know why we needed to do it with Liberty. Like, it felt so unnecessary. I don't know. And then we get JT, our literally our I can't even describe it, our goofy character. He's just goofy. Like, he's just very eccentric. Like the scene where him and Toby think that they're on E, he's like, dude, this is
Dude, this is incredible.
Dude, this is ecstasy.
I love that episode so much because JT was just like on a whole nother level. But he was just very much a goofball. He always made people laugh. And he was just like the life of I think even just of the show, really, to be quite honest, because a lot of these characters were they were just messy in general, but JT brought like the laughs. He made things a lot more enjoyable. So out of these characters, I actually have 4 characters I would give them a second chance. JT, obviously. JT, Liberty, Chris, and Damien. I say JT because, first of all, he did not need to die. It's so unnecessary. Because the actor ended up going to college. So I don't know why you had to kill off JT. I don't understand it. You could just had him like go to like switch schools or something. Like maybe talk to his grandma, because he was staying with his grandma. I don't remember much of the story about his parents. He said his mom was a seamstress in the episode when he made the skirt for Liberty. But I don't remember much of the backstory about that. Interrupted by the 7-year-old again. I swear, every single time. Where was I? Okay, JT, right. Yeah, he didn't need to die off. He really could have just been he could have talked to his grandma and said, like, I don't feel comfortable at Degrassi. There's some things going on. I just don't feel safe. I feel like his grandma would have been like, okay, let's relocate you to a different school. Simple. Like, it could have been that simple. Y'all did not need to off him. You just really didn't. It was so unnecessary. But also with Liberty, like, I would say this together. JT and Liberty's story was poorly written. Poorly. Terrible. Absolutely hate it. I loved them together. But Liberty did not need to go through a teen pregnancy. We already dealt with that with Manny. I guess because, like, every season they need to have a teen pregnancy, but, like, different versions of it. So, like, how with Manny, she had the abortion, and then with Liberty, she ends up giving her baby up for adoption. But I feel like it was so unnecessary for her to go through that. Like, we could have just had them be, like, a cute little couple. We could have had, like, maybe, like, a Romeo and Juliet type of love. Maybe Liberty's parents are like, okay, really? JT York, because they know him, they know Toby, they know all their friends in the friend group, so they know how everyone is like. I would have loved to see her family be like, really, you're dating JT out of all people? Like, that would have been a very interesting story to have, of just them dating and navigating being together, especially as an interracial couple too, because it's a black girl and a white guy in the early 2000s. I'm just saying, like, that would have been it could have just been dealt so much better for their story. Like, the whole teen pregnancy was unnecessary. JT getting involved with selling drugs, JT dying, all of that was so unnecessary. JT dating Mia, out of all people, someone who had a kid. Like, it was so unnecessary. It made me very frustrated. It still makes me frustrated as I'm speaking about it. Like, they could have had a completely different love story, and they still could have been together. And if they wanted to keep, like, the whole Lakehurst drama, maybe not, like, actually dating Mia, but if they did want to bring, like, Lakehurst there, and then maybe, I don't know, like, if JT pissed one of the guys off for some comment or something like that, and they thought it was him being rude, but JT was actually just trying to be funny. If they wanted to keep that, they could have kept it. And they could have had, I forgot the kid's name. I don't remember his name. And they could have had the Lakehurst kids. I think it was Johnny. Yeah, it was Johnny. Johnny was there. I don't remember Bruce being there, but it was Johnny and the kid that actually ended up offing him. They could have been bullying him. I don't know, because we didn't have any, like, bullying plot lines in that season. I mean, with that class. If I'm being quite honest, I'm like, they were, like, mocking Liberty, but there was no, like, full-on bullying. And that's part of one of the things that Degrassi does talk about, is, like, about bullying. It's, cyberbullying for later seasons, but that could have been a whole different storyline. Like, it just makes me upset that they would do that to JT and Liberty. Okay, Chris just needed a storyline in general that did not center around Emma. It was so unnecessary. Also, why is he beatboxing? Very uncomfortable. Damien, he had no reason to be involved with any of our girls. None zilch. if he wanted to be involved with Liberty later on, like maybe if JT went off to school somewhere else and maybe him and Liberty decided to break up or whatever, and or like maybe they were already broken up, but Liberty's still navigating her feelings for him, but also being attracted to Damien. Like that would have been interesting. I don't know. I mean, he is a black man. Like maybe, or like maybe if Damien came from money like Liberty, maybe his family was more prestigious, or upper class like Liberty's family was, and they could have been like, oh my God, this is a better connection because look, he has goals and ambitions or something like that. And she could have been like, yeah, I'm attracted to him, but is this really important for me? Like that could have been a whole storyline for Liberty too as well, of like navigating what it's like to find love. Is it going to be like versus like her head or her heart type of thing, because she is a very logical character. That would have been good. Oh my God, I should have just written the show. I'm just saying. But those characters, they definitely deserved a lot better when it comes to class of 2007. Next up is class of 2008. We have Bruce, Johnny, Darcy, Derek, Kendra, Peter, Danny, and Jane. So I'm gonna speed this up because I'm talking a lot. Like I just said, Bruce and Johnny are from the Lakehurst situation. Darcy came over from Lakehurst. Derek came over from Lakehurst, I think, too. Danny was already there because that's Liberty's little brother. Peter, I think Peter just came on over too. He just enrolled into Degrassi. Kendra enrolled into Degrassi because that's Spinner's adopted sister. And I think Jane came from Lakehurst. Yeah. Okay. Straightforward. Bruce and Johnny, I don't really care for them. Keep it moving. They were fine the way they were. Darcy got enough screen time. Moving on. Derek was an asshole. Derek was a straight up asshole. Just a frustrating character in general. Kendra, non-existent. Peter, he had enough storylines, even though I still don't like him. I think we all agree on that. After what he did to Manny, he could never be redeemed in my eyes. But I just don't care for his character. So that's a different story. Danny, we don't see much of Danny either, to be quite honest. It's like, I don't remember any storylines with Danny, minus the fact that he's friends with Derek. And he dated Shantae for a little bit. And Leia. I think that's it. That's really it. And then we have Jane. Jane had enough story time. So, obviously, I would pick Derek, Kendra, and Danny. Now, looking at it, I had just had Kendra and Derek. But I want to add Danny, too. Because I would love to see Danny's perspective of his life growing up as being Liberty's little brother. He's more of the goofier one. He kind of reminds me of JT. Yeah, I would just love to see a different character. He could have been like, maybe he could have been a black sheep in the family because he is a lot different than the rest of them. Because Liberty's dad, when we do see Liberty talk to her parents seem very logical, very straightforward, no nonsense, just like her. But Danny is not. He's the opposite of them. I would love to see what Danny's character would have been like. His home life would have been like for him, because he's a little bit more goofier. Maybe he doesn't take school as seriously as them. Like, it could have been anything. I would have loved to see that side of the story, because that is something that's really prevalent and very prevalent when it comes to being a teenager. Like, sometimes you feel like you're the odd one out in your family. Like, maybe everyone was like a jock, or maybe they're a cheerleader, maybe everybody was popular, or maybe they're like really cool or whatever, and you're not. That's something that happens a lot as a teenager. Hello? Like, I feel like that would have been a very interesting story for Danny, and maybe like navigating what it's like to be himself and be friends with Derek, especially how Derek is, but also dealing with the struggle and the pressure of what his parents want him to become like. Because later on in the show, we do get Danny, and Danny is serious when it comes to like his academics, especially when it comes to dating Shantae. Like, you see him like really cracking in the books and really focusing, while him and Derek like split away. Like, I would have loved to actually see that play out though. Like, they just made it happen underneath. Actually would have loved to see it, how it would play out, like from beginning to end. Like, I'm just saying. I would just love to see more detail of that. For Derek, I feel like I would give Derek a second chance, because we always have characters that are the a-holes, and we already have Bruce and Johnny. Derek did not have to be one of them. He could have been like Spinner, one that gets redeemed over the course of several seasons. Like, Derek could have been like him. We did not need another one. We already had Johnny and Bruce. Maybe they had plans to redeem Johnny early on, but even then, at the time, like, you already have two. Give Derek a chance. Even if like him and Danny phase out and not become friends anymore, which is completely normal for teenagers, maybe that could have been Derek's chance to finally realize, like, wow, like, yeah, we were really different, but some of the things Danny says is right. Maybe he didn't want to listen. Maybe he doesn't want to listen to it at first, but over time, as he like starts to talk to his teachers and they say like he's failing or something like that, and then maybe dealing with some pressure at home, I would have loved to see what Derek's home life was like. It would have been very interesting to see if like maybe if he could have had like older brothers that were very aggressive, and so he kind of resorted to being like the comedian one, but also very asshole-ish. Like, that's where he gets his tendencies from, but he tries to like mask it as being the funny guy. Like, that would be interesting to see, because that happens too in households. Like, especially guys who would be like, oh, I'm a nice guy, when they're really not. Like, I would love to see that. Love to see Derek's household and what that would have been like for him, and how he comes to be, and maybe see him become better, like actually get redeemed. He could have been 2008's Spinner. I'm just saying. And then for Kendra, obviously we need Kendra. Like, how y'all gonna introduce Spinner's adopted sister? Spinner, adopted sister, who literally tells Toby to his face, was like, really, so you can't man up because you're scared of my brother. Like, she already had the attitude and behavior of Spinner's family. You could tell just from that, like, point blank period. I don't know when they adopted Kendra, but you can tell, like, especially if they adopted her when she was younger, maybe she was like a toddler, or maybe she was a baby. She literally has the Mason energy. Okay, I would have loved to just seen her, period. Especially when Spinner later on gets cancer. I would have loved to see her like come and take care of him, visit him, something. But yeah, no, she just falls off the face of the earth. I would just love to see her, especially like because she was our only Asian character too. Because literally in the past 2 seasons we didn't have an Asian character. We have Hazel, who's Muslim, but we don't have a Asian character, and she would have been like the complete opposite of the, not complete opposite of the Asian stereotype. Like, she could have been like smart, quick-witted, but she could also been very straightforward like Spinner. I would have loved to see that kind of character on the show. Someone who kind of breaks that mold of like, breaks the mold and breaks the stereotype of like a timid, school-focused Asian nerd, you know, type of thing, but not necessarily like a cool Asian like Mean Girls, but like just seeing that difference and seeing what it's like for her to be an adopted child, and maybe what her journey could have been like, maybe wanting to find her adoptive parents, or maybe she doesn't want to find her adoptive parents, or I mean her biological parents. Like, I would love to just seen her story in general, just anything, but they give us nothing, which is why those are my 3 choices for 2007 class. I mean 2008, yeah, 2008 class. Moving on to the class of 2011, we have Sav, Shantae, Leia, Blue, Declan, Fiona, Mia, Anya, Zane, Holly J, and Riley. Sav, I feel like Sav had a decent amount of story time, and when it comes to being for his seasons on the show. I would have loved to have seen less him and Anya mess. I'm just saying the back and forth was very annoying. Also, that song was ugly. I'm gonna put a clip here.
It's been that way for half a year. It's like we belong. So I wrote this song, yeah, for my one, my only Anya.
Yeah, gross. Then we have Shantae. I'm just gonna say it now. Shantae is definitely one of my characters that should have been redeemed. That I think that deserves a second chance, because Shantae, she has been around since, like, what was it, 2004, 2005, something like that. Like, literally, she came in like forever ago. I'm gonna pull this back up because I just pulled up this freaking article about Shantae. Exactly, it's season 4, literally. In season 4, she is in the episode Modern Love, where she's at a sleepover with Manny, Emma, and Darcy. At a freaking sleepover. How is she now graduating in 2011? They just ruined this character. I don't know what happened with the actress. I don't know what happened. I don't know if there's a interview. I'll have to do some more research on that, because that was ridiculous. Like, how you gonna have her on since season 4 and she graduates in 2007? Like, I understand if she doesn't graduate with Manny and Emma because she just got there, but she's got to graduate with Darcy. Like, I'm so confused. Like, that's so mind-boggling to me. Like, you just had this character in the background the entire time, which I'll forget that she was even there, that she even had lines in the first place. Like, please tell me what happened. Like, that's absolutely insane. Shantae is definitely a character that deserves a second chance. She deserves to have an accurate storyline time, because how the hell is she graduating in 2011 with Sav and Anya? It makes no sense. It makes no sense. It's so frustrating. Like, if you're gonna put her with Manny, Emma, and Darcy, at least give her a storyline around them, like, you know, with them. But, you know, obviously, during that time, they're so focused on all the other characters. Don't introduce another character if you're not going to give her a proper storyline and have her graduate in the correct amount of time she's supposed to graduate in. It was so stupid. Leia's also a character I would have to redeem, because we don't get anything of Leia. She's just shy, timid. She dates Danny for a bit. She's friends with Mia for a little bit before Mia, you know, and sleeps with the photographer, I think it was. No, the football player that she did the photo shoot for, the model. Anyway, but that's all we get from Leia. We don't get anything. She lies about who her parents are, or at least, like, knowing Pete Wentz. Like, we don't get anything from her. Like, she deserved better. We get Blue. Blue's fine, whatever. I think that Blue deserved to be in the spot where he was. Also, his last name is Chessex. I did not pick up on that. I'm like, were they trying to say blue cheese? But then they were like, we gotta add some letters to his last name so it's not so obvious. Like, the best that was. Declan, decent amount of story time. Also, still don't like him. I just don't like Declan, to be quite honest. Declan and Holly J together, I don't care. They can be together for all they want. I really just don't care. I just don't care for Declan. And I never really had, especially with the whole Jane situation. Boy, please. Moving on. Fiona. I like Fiona. At the beginning, Fiona was... But at the same time, like, looking back on it and, like, watching the episodes, because I still rewatched the show, she was just very lonely. She didn't have any friends. I don't even know if it was, like, because of how she acted around people to make friends, because later on, when she's, like, talking to other people, the only person that she really has beef with is Holly J. Like, she really doesn't have beef with anybody. Just Holly J, because Holly J is taking Declan's attention away from her, and it's always been, you know, them attached at the hip, especially when they lived in New York. So of course, you know, there's gonna be a jealous sister. When she kissed Declan, I was like, this girl's just drunk. She's drunk, she's crazy, my God, a mess. But she really was just like very lonely. She was just a very lonely character. I doubt when she was living in New York, she even had real friends, because socialites, especially with her, I think it was like her mom does like charity work or whatever, or at least runs a charity. You know, there was some fraudulent stuff and some embezzlement with that. But still, like, you can't really have friends when you have money like that, especially as a teenager. Because then there's other families like that with other teenagers who have money, and everyone just really looks out for themselves. It's very much a dog eat dog world. So I'm not shocked about Fiona. Mia, I don't like Mia. I just don't like Mia. Like, she could have had her own storyline of just being a single teen mom, but I did not need her to be with JT. That was so unnecessary. JT's supposed to be with Liberty, period. Mia had no business of getting in the middle of that. So, and like the people who say like it was Mia's fault that JT even got stabbed in the first place, I wouldn't say it's even her fault, but Mia just had no business in general. Like, no, she just didn't have no business being in JT's face. But it's JT. JT's like, ooh, pretty face. Which, of course, I mean, it's JT. We have Anya. I don't care for her either. She has some semi-interesting plot lines when she gets addicted to one of the drugs. I forgot which one. But she's just a very, like, mild character. I feel like she very much represents, like, the normal teenager. not because of the drug part. But, like, the back and forth with a boyfriend, constantly on and off. And then when they're finally off, she doesn't know who she is. She doesn't know what her interests are, because she's wrapped herself so much in this relationship where now she doesn't know what she likes to do. She doesn't know how to be by herself. And then when she's not around staff, she'll be like, oh, I guess I'll hang out with you. Like, she's that friend who's very much not, it's not even like male-centered, it's boyfriend-centered, because she's not trying to get with any other guy or making you, or like trying to sabotage any other girl from getting with a guy. Like, she's not male-centered like that. She's just boyfriend-centered. She's just a normal teenager, and then the drug stuff happens, which I thought was weird. But I get her like losing her weight, but the drug thing was just out of pocket. It was so unnecessary. We have Zane, who is going through his own journey of pretty much identifying his sexuality, feeling comfortable being gay, and then dating Riley, who's not comfortable, who's not out. I feel like Riley and Zane should have just left each other alone, to be quite honest. Like, it got to the point where they should have just, like, never interacted with each other ever again. And Zane should have went with somebody who was very open and ready to be open about it, because Riley was not ready. And, yeah. I feel like Riley's journey of becoming more open with his gayness, and it felt a little bit forced and fast to me. Like, I feel like with Riley as a character, I don't think he would have came out until like maybe after college. I wouldn't see him coming out anytime before then with his character and the journey that he was going down. I don't think he ever would have came out till after college. And that's fine. Like, there are some people who just navigate that space, and it takes them a longer time to accept it and be out and proud about it. And maybe some people still aren't like out and proud about it, but they're just like, yeah, I'm gay. I just know I don't need to shout about it. Like, maybe he could come to terms with that like after college, but he doesn't have to be like, I'm gay. He could just be like, yeah, I like guys. And like, maybe all of a sudden he's engaged to a guy, they're like, oh, you're gay. He'd be like, yeah. And like, I feel like that would have been more appropriate for Riley, of just not being so bombarded to just be like out and proud like Zane was, because Riley wasn't. So they had no business like staying together. Oh, and it was just too messy. Holly J had good screen time. She had a good redemption arc. the whole situation if Declan raped her or not. That was a gray area. I feel like that was unnecessary. If I'm being quite honest, we did not need that. We could have just left it at when he was pretty much like trying to buy her time. Or was that after that? I don't remember. But yeah, we didn't need that part though of their relationship journey. I feel like that was so unnecessary and trying to do a little bit too much. But I do love Holly J when Fiona comes out. She's just like, at first she's like a little nervous, but then she's like, oh, okay. She's cool. She's like, I'm cool with it. Love her for it. But yeah, I would definitely say Shantae and Leia are definitely my characters to redeem, because Shantae should have graduated early and they should have given her an actual storyline at that time, not late as hell getting involved with Danny. Like, if she was going to do the Degrassi gossip blog, I would have loved to seen her at the very beginning. I would have loved to seen her in 2006. Or even 2000, like literally, if I would just love to have seen her actually have a whole story. Like, if you're gonna put her in the freaking slumber party and give her speaking roles, give her a backstory. Let us see her. If she's gonna run the gossip blog in 2007, that would have been so freaking good, because then we could have gotten her depiction of the Manny and Paige fight about Mr. O. Like, that would have been so good on the Degrassi. I'm just saying, like, she would have been like our TMZ girl for the show. Our TMZ, our gossip girl from Gossip Girl. Like, it would have been so good. But I feel like we shouldn't have known that she ran a gossip blog. It should have been private. She could have still had like that haughtiness that she had, like that air of confidence, but she didn't, but you know, keeping it on the low. I feel like that would have been Shantae's character. That would have been so interesting, because you wouldn't know if she's actually like a good person. You wouldn't know if she's actually your friend or not. And I feel like that would have been a very interesting way to depict a Black character too, because it's not necessarily of like being aggressive and loud. But you already have Liberty, who is like the quiet nerd. So you have this character who's like a little bit more confident. She's a little bit more out, you know, she has a little bit more of an air to her. But she's not the stereotypical Black girl either. But there's something different about her where you're just like, I can't quite put my finger on it, but I don't know if I can trust you. And she'd be like, can you? Like, I would have loved to see her like that. Leia just deserved anything in general, to be quite honest. But those are my picks for 2011. Moving on to 2013, we have Mike, Bianca, Eli, Marisol, Jake, Mo, Katie, Owen, Imogen, and Drew. Mike Dallas. Also, I say, who's Mike? My brain, I can't. I feel like Mike had some screen time. Bianca had some screen time. Eli had plenty. There's certain parts of Eli's story that I feel like we did not need to see. Like towards the end in season 14 when he calls Claire the W word. That was out of pocket. That was so unlike Eli. Eli would have never called Claire that. Never. When she broke up with him, when he crashed his hearse, he was still pining to get her back. He wasn't even calling her the B word, nothing. He didn't say anything like that. He literally was just like, I want my girl back. And you think literally in season 14, you think he's gonna call her out her name? He wouldn't. Like, yes, he's bipolar, but he would never do that. So I don't know who wrote that. That was so like unnerving. Like, ugh. It was so out of character for Eli. It was so annoying that they even wrote that in there like that. I'm mad at y'all for that. I'm mad at the writers for that. Marisol, whatever, moving on. I just don't care for Marisol either, to be quite honest. And I feel like it's fine to have Black characters who are just messy, and Marisol was just messy. Like, she served her purpose. whatever. She ends up dating Mo, which I love Mo. So I guess that's her redeeming quality, is that she's dating Mo. That's it. Jake, I feel like Jake had pretty good storylines too as well, with coming from the whole Claire Eli situation, which he had no idea what the hell was going on. He was so like out of his depth when it came to that. He was just like, yeah, I'm just gonna work on the play for Eli. Everyone's just, Claire's just like, I don't like this. He's like, it's fine. But then like with doing the rooftop garden and wanting to do his own thing outside of his dad's construction business, I feel like that was a good storyline for him, because, you know, teenagers want to do things that their parents, that is the opposite of what their parents do. Like, they want to create a name for themselves, and that is clearly something that teenagers and also just people in general deal with. So that was very accurate for Jake. Katie's storyline, it makes sense. It makes sense because how type A and so focused and driven that Katie was, and then when she gets injured, she's like, I want to get better, I want to get better. She's like, I want to heal, I want to go back to playing soccer. So at first I was just thinking like, maybe she shouldn't have been on drugs, but then now thinking about it, like, it makes sense that she would be addicted to them because of her type A-ness, her very strict, very ambitious to the point where it's at her detriment. Makes sense, especially when it came to running for class president with her and Marisol competing against each other. She was literally so ambitious to where it was detrimental to her when Marisol pretty much told the school that she had an eating disorder. That was to your detriment, girl. But even though she didn't deserve that, that's why I'm saying you can have some black messy characters, because Marisol was messy. She was just, she was something else. Owen was just a gross slime ball. And that's fine by me. Do not care for Owen. But I would say the one thing though, I don't know where along the line where Tristan, because we do get his brother Tristan later on in the show, who is gay. I don't know when Tristan would have told Owen that he was gay, but I would have loved to see that transition, especially after the whole Riley and Zane situation. Like, I would love to have at least seen when that shift happened, and when that shift would have happened, because he could have went from targeting Riley and Zane and making the gay jokes and being very homophobic to maybe like slowly just like not even like making comments, but just becoming, just like not making comments at all. It could just been like slower, like a slower way of seeing him not make those comments. Instead of being like bombarded with all of them, it starts to like gradually decrease. Everyone else will make the comment, and maybe he would side-eye them a little bit, or be like, shut up, you know, something like that. That would make sense to see when we get to see Tristan, how protective he is of Tristan, because he is protective of Tristan. He is protective of his brother when Tristan comes on the show. But I would have loved to see that transition, because then when Tristan comes on the show, we would know, like, got it, that, you know, he's like, that's when, you know, obviously that Owen has navigated that and navigated his homophobia. And just really coming to accept and understand his brother. And I feel like that would just been the good transition, because we wouldn't have to see Tristan on camera, but just seeing how Owen slowly changes and progresses, and how later on we do see him become a little bit more calmer towards Anya, and even like checking on her, make sure she's okay when she does when she does become addicted to drugs for a bit. It would have made more sense. I'm just saying, because we just automatically jump from him being homophobic to him being just raunchy and disgusting to being nice to Anya. Like, it was too drastic. I would love to see like the gradual progression for Owen with that. So maybe I'll add him to my to characters I would redeem, because that would have been a much better transition for Owen. And then people would have been like, you know what, maybe I do kind of like Owen, because it's slowly happening, and we want to have to like have him have his own episodes, but it would have been nice to like observe, because a lot of times with Degrassi, it's obviously it can be very overt with what they're saying, but it's also the things that they don't say where you're like, ooh, that's gonna come up later. It just would have been interesting to see, and really good to see for Owen as a character. We have Imogen. Imogen's a very interesting character. She comes on obsessed with Eli, which is very weird. It kind of reminded me of the season from Awkward when Maddie and the gang get tied up in I forgot her name. Oh my god. But the girl's mess who was like stalking all of them, it was so out of nowhere. Like it was just out of nowhere. It was just so weird. Like I don't know where shows and stories got this random stalker subplot from. I don't even know where it started. Maybe it's from a Wattpad. I don't know. But I felt like Imogen's start was just weird. I was just like, okay, girl, it's kind of odd. And then slowly over time, she does become more. She's still very eccentric, but she's not to that extent of how she's introduced, which was very weird because we know Imogen to be struggling with her father. I feel like her father has early onset Alzheimer's, or at least dementia. I think that's what he was suffering from. And I would love to have just seen her introduced with that versus being obsessed with Eli. Like, it was just weird for her to be introduced like that. Like, I would really have loved her. Like, maybe she would like run in with her backpack filled with papers or something like that, running late. Maybe she trips by Eli or something and he helps her up and she's like, I'm late. And you'd be like, who is that? I feel like that would have been a very more interesting way to introduce a character like that. Because then you're like, why is she running? Why is her hair half done? Or like, why is she, like, you know, just certain things that would come up in your mind about her, just like from that instance. And it didn't have to be tied to the Eli Claire mess. Not everybody has to be involved in that kind of stuff. I feel like that would have just been a very interesting start for her, of just like always being late. Maybe we could have seen her like in passing episodes leading up to her having her own storyline. We would just see her like running late, maybe turning in papers late, talking with Principal Simpson about how far behind she is. Something like that. I'm just saying, like anything like that. Or maybe even just like saying that she has to leave early, and you know, or hear her talking on the phone to her mom. I think her name was Charlotte. Like, you could hear her saying like, Charlotte, I don't want to do that. She's like, I'm not going to leave my father. You'd be like, what's wrong with your father? Like certain things like that I feel like would have been very more enticing to introduce Imogen's character. And then for her first episode, or at least her first part of getting introduced as a main character, I would have loved to have seen her home life like right away. Like after seeing snippets of her, and then all of a sudden we get a scene. That would be like the first opening scene for the episode. It would be her getting ready to go to school and really like leaving post-it notes all over the house for her dad. That would have been interesting. It would have been like, oh, so she cares for her dad? And then we could jump to like the other characters, but that at least gives you something to hold on to for Imogen's character. I'm just saying, it could have just been a lot better for her start. And then we get Drew. Drew had plenty of story time, and some unnecessary ones too. Like the gang stuff, unnecessary. I feel like we don't need like gang affiliation like in almost every other generation class, because we already had that we technically kind of had that with JT when he was selling drugs. We didn't need that anymore. I feel like we don't need that all the damn time, because not every teenager deals with like gang activity, to be quite honest. Like I feel like that's not as accurate as other parts of the teenage experience, to be quite honest. Like it does happen, especially if you're in a inner city school, or just like in certain communities. Like it does happen, but we don't need that in every other season of Degrassi. Also for Degrassi, a lot of these characters seem either very affluent or maybe not as it's like a range of class, but I feel like it feels unnecessary to have it. I don't know, maybe that's just me. It was just odd for him to have that. Also, him and Bianca got on my nerves. That's literally just him. Drew and Bianca's story just got on my nerves the entire time, because that's one thing I will point out right now. Drew's mom, she had the nerve to call Allie out her name for being with her son, but we never see her confront Bianca. All of a sudden, she's cool with Bianca. It doesn't make any sense to me. You were literally just dogging Allie like 5 minutes ago. But you're over here supporting Bianca and being like, well, we gotta take care of her, we gotta help her. Where was this motherly like attention for Allie? It was so weird. And it made me uncomfortable because it made me not like his mom. Because she can't keep her ish straight. And then we had this stuff with Adam and dealing with her dealing with him being transgender and having such a tough time. She looks in the car, she looks like very like stressed out, overwhelmed and everything like that because of processing Adam's transition, but also dealing with Drew and that kind of stuff going on. It felt so weird though that she would call Allie out but not confront Bianca on some level. Like, I don't know. Because I can't remember if Allie literally was like, I wasn't there. Like, I would have loved to have, I don't know if Allie says that part in the episode when it comes to talking to Drew's mom. I would have loved to see it a bit like, it wasn't me down there, it was her. Like, I'm gonna need you to redirect your anger, ma'am, because it's at the wrong person. I just would have loved to see that. But my characters, I pick, I would say Mike, Bianca, and Owen. As I said, I shared what I would change for Owen, but for Mike Dallas, I would have loved to have seen him going through therapy, especially after the Cam situation. I would have loved to see him, because that scene in the hallway between him and Allie was very impactful. But I feel like after that, it just kind of fizzled out for Mike. Then it was just like more so of like him being a teen dad. Like we don't need that all the time of a teen pregnancy. Like if we're gonna have it later on for another character, we don't need it so much. But I guess they were trying to show it from the teen dad's perspective of trying to be involved in his child's life. Like I get it, but at the same time, I would have loved to seen him in therapy talking about the Cam situation. I feel like a lot of characters just stop talking about Cam's like it was there and then it wasn't. Like they have the video like of pretty much the entire school in the I forgot what they call it, the Ice Hawks or something like that. But there was nothing really like afterwards besides Maya, but I'll get to Maya in a minute. But yeah, there was like nothing there. I don't know. It was just very odd for me, to be quite honest with that. I would have loved to have just seen him like, yeah, going through therapy and maybe even talking to Rocky's mom. I don't even know if they named her on the show, but at least like talking with her about what he experienced with Cam and his character, what he was like prior to Cam, because we already know what he was like when it came to playing hockey and being very strict and sometimes very like demanding and just like very aggressive towards Cam. I would have loved to seen if he was like that with Rocky's mom when they were together, type of thing. because we do see where she's like, I don't know if I can trust you, but that's more so of like when Rocky, almost he has his allergy attack. But I would love to have seen if maybe he was like that beforehand, like how he is with Cam. Like if he was like that beforehand, and that's why they broke up in the first place. That he was over, like he would be like overbearing. Maybe he didn't want the kid, or just something. I would love to see it more of like his character development and like actually like show that progression. So kind of like Owen, like kind of, I want to see it. I want to see it. I want to dive deeper into it to know like how they can navigate from where they were to being a redeemable character in the end, because he does become redeemable when he's with Allie. He's very focused on school and being there for Rocky, but we don't see the breakdown throughout the entire story. Like it's just not there. And then for Bianca, I feel like Bianca needed a redo. Because as much as I don't like Bianca, Bianca deserved a redo. Because Bianca had no business being on and off with Drew that many times. Like, it was so unnecessary. She did not have to be in his face all the time. Like, the first temptation, yes, she can be pet. You know, that's normal teenager dumb stuff. It's like, watch me take your man. Like, you know, that type of stuff. It's very, trust me. For all of us who have been teenagers before, we know how very accurate that is. Like, there are some girls who are like that. And I would love to have seen her grow from that outside of the whole gang activity and all the mess tied with Tiny's brother. I forgot his name was. Like, I didn't see that. But I would just love to have seen her, like, actually change after her interactions with Allie. Like, even possibly even build a friendship, possibly. Like, finding herself and feeling more confident within herself outside of a relationship, because that's really what it was. She wasn't confident. She wasn't secure at all in herself outside of trying to take somebody else's man. I'm just mean. I would just love to have seen more from Bianca outside of Drew. Moving on to the class of 2014, we have Becky, Luke, Wesley, Allie, Connor, Claire, Jenna, Casey, Adam, and Dave. You've seen enough of Becky. I don't need to talk about her. Luke, we've seen enough of him too. you know. You know, where he ends up, that's fine by me. He deserves to be there. Wesley, I would have loved to see Wesley more. He is a character I would give a second chance to. We see him have a crush on Claire, but then he dates some other girl. I forgot her name. I don't even think she was even added into this at all. I don't remember her name. Oh God, that is so disappointing. I don't remember her name at all. But he ends up dating her for a little bit, but Wesley doesn't get any storylines. Like, he gets, like, the nerdy ones. It kind of reminds me of... his storyline gives me very much, like, Nickelodeon. Because he has the whole, like, I want to beat a world record. I want to get a girlfriend. It's very much Nickelodeon. And he deserved better than that. Like, if he was going to end up dating Claire for a bit, that would have been really cute to see. Like, clearly, like, if... Because this was after Casey. Yeah, this was after Casey. Where she bites his neck during 7 Minutes in Heaven. I would have loved to just see two nerds get together for a little bit, even if it is for a short time. Like, that would have just been really cute. like Wesley, it could be like maybe like the more, not even more experienced, because Claire wasn't that experienced. I mean, she did kiss Casey, and she did have her first relationship. So technically, in a way, like the more experienced girl with the least experienced guy, because that does happen in the teenage years. Maybe Wesley would feel like feel insecure towards that, being like, oh, that's her ex. Like, I gotta compare to that type of thing. That would have been interesting to see, where Wesley tries to be cool like KC, or even try to just like make himself feel better with his relationship with Claire. Obviously they would break up, But I just love what I would have loved to seen that perspective, because that does happen. There's always a teen guy a teenager male who is not as experienced as maybe his girlfriend or just girls in general, and just feels very much like inept when it comes to that. So he's like, I don't feel cool. I've never been on a date before. I never kissed a girl. I don't know what it's like to have sex or anything like that. Like, that would have been very interesting to see for Wesley's character, and like slowly become confident in himself and really navigate his first relationship. I feel like that just would have been cute. I'm just saying, like, they should have gave Wesley something. Because his storyline was just, oh god, it was so boring. Allie had plenty of screen time. Allie had the right amount. Everything about Allie, I love Allie. Connor had good storylines too. I feel like his entire journey is very well documented. Claire's exaggerated. Especially like towards, like getting towards season 14. I think it's like, was it like 12? I think it was 12, 13, something like that. After, I'm fine with the Asher situation. What I'm not happy with is that it was never concluded. And then later on we get Claire having cancer, Claire getting pregnant, Claire losing a baby, Claire sleeping with Drew. Like, oh, that was so unnecessary. Like, Claire did not need to have cancer. I think they wanted to follow it up because Holly J had her health issues. But we did not need Claire to go through that. Like, we're just putting Claire through too much. Like, it was so unnecessary for her to go through that. Like, I feel like her main thing should have just been the Asher case. And unlike how with Paige's journey with her case, she didn't win. I would love to have seen Claire win. At least, like, all of the women win when it comes to speaking up against Asher and the team in general, and actually having actually getting reparations for that, and actually having Asher get in trouble, like maybe some jail time, or at least like fined or something, or has to be like kicked off of the company, something like that. I feel like that would have been really interesting to see. I mean, we do see Fiona win her case too, but I would last night when I was filming about Claire and I was literally talking for like a good solid 45 minutes, and I thought like none of it, because the last clip I saw on my phone was back to like 2007 when I was talking about Liberty's class, and I was like, oh god damn, I lost a lot. I was like, you know what, I'll just film it tomorrow. But my phone updated with, I guess, like just restarting, and so it actually just cut off with me talking about Claire. So thank God, because that would have been a lot of material just gone. But anyway, going back to Claire, but pretty much all I was just saying was just like, I wish Claire would have had more focus on her case and less on all of the other stuff following after that. Like, I would have loved to have seen Claire win her case, have other women come on to the case, because I think this is around the time of the Me Too movement. I would have loved to see Eli supporting her with that. And if they eventually did want to keep the whole Claire sleep with Drew thing, that I would have been fine with that. But don't add in the cancer before then. Don't add in having the unexpected pregnancy, because I feel like that's what ruined Claire and Drew. Like, if you really wanted Claire to grow and develop and move on from Eli, you didn't have to do what you did to her and Drew. Like, it would have been fine if they would just started to connect more and build that connection, so that when it comes to graduation, Eli will come visit, like will come see her at graduation, but we see her like talking to Eli, and then all of a sudden Drew comes up and they're like holding hands type of thing. You've been like, ooh, that's interesting how they're gonna navigate that in the future. Like, is Claire just gonna stay with Drew? Is there still gonna be some tension from Eli? Because we already had a love triangle with Claire, Eli, and Fitz. And then we had Claire, Eli, Jake, Claire, Eli, Jake, and Imogen. Like, we already had all of that. So maybe this could have been like the final like nail in the coffin of ending Claire, and starting up, I think they call it Clue for Claire and Drew for their pairing, but still, like, we didn't need all that in between for Claire's character. It felt so unnecessary and very, it's like it's like literally kicking a character while they're down. It was just doing way too much for me. Moving on to Jenna, I feel like Jenna had a decent storyline, because as a Claire fan, especially at the very beginning when she was dating Casey, and then we get introduced to Jenna, the boyfriend stealer. So when the whole Jenna gets pregnant thing happened, I was like, and that's what you get, ho. Like, that was me as a person when watching the show. So I believe that Jenna's character has grown, and it was just enough shown for her character to go from being the boyfriend stealer to being a teen mom to struggling with the option to give up the baby for adoption, still dealing with Casey because that's never going to go away. That was something that was heavily prevalent in the story and happens in real life for teen mothers, because the child's father is there, like, in your school with you. Like, they didn't just up and disappear. Like, they're still around for the most part. Not necessarily in the case of, like, being supportive towards you having the kid, but they're still present, like, in your everyday life for the most part, especially if you're in the same friend group, which is literally Jenna and Casey at the time. So that makes sense. And then I would say after that, I would have loved to seen Jenna apologize to Claire. We don't see that. I would have loved to have seen Jenna actually maturing after that, because she did mature, but we don't see it. I would have loved to seen her, like, talk to Claire about the whole Casey situation, and apologize for pretty much taking Allie, because Allie now all of a sudden is best friends with Jenna, which is very odd. Like, Allie wanted to be popular, but she was very, very against Jenna as a person, so it didn't make any sense. Yes, Jaden.
I'm watching your video.
Sir, go upstairs.
Okay.
But yeah, I feel like I would have loved to have seen Jenna apologize, and that transition, I feel like seeing that would have been a lot better when it came to seeing her mature and actually end up with Connor eventually. Just knowing that she, like, that actual situation between her and Claire is, like, null and it's like it's solved. Everything's resolved and everything like that. Casey, I feel like they messed up Casey's character. Casey is definitely a character that I would redeem, because they just made him so messy. Like, I understand if you're gonna make a bad boy character, you made a bad boy character that's also smart. Like, I understand keeping his background with his mom and being in a group home. Like, I'm fine with that. The teen pregnancy, fine. But after literally giving up Tyson for adoption, and the whole Marisol situation, I would have loved to seen Casey grow. We do get Casey just, like, leaving with his mom because his dad gets out of jail and it's not safe for them to be there anymore, which I get it because of whatever the background was with his dad, with his biological dad. So it's just like, I don't know. I just would love to have seen him, like, actually apologize to Claire too. Like, he apologized, but he didn't really apologize, let's be quite honest. Like, it wasn't like him acknowledging how messed up he actually was and how he really did hurt her, and then kind of like her tutoring him type of situation, and him trying to get the answers from Claire during that whole situation when it came to when he was about to fail that test. Like, I feel like he could have just been portrayed a little bit differently in that situation, especially like if you are gonna have him, like, go away, but at least have him and Claire be on a decent page, and also just make him a more of a decent character too. Like, the whole him cheating on Jenna with Marisol, it was just it was out of place for me. Like, he's like, we can tell that, you know, obviously he's done it before. He's cheated on Claire with Jenna, but I don't know, I just feel like they could have done something different with him. I don't know what, but just something just doesn't sit right with Casey's character for me. Moving on to Adam. Adam is depicted extremely well. The only gripe I do have, he's not a character I would redeem, but there's just one thing I would change is if you're gonna keep the ending where Adam does get in a car accident and passes away, at least change the situation. I would love to have seen something different versus him just being jealous of the other camp counselor that Becky was hanging around. I just wish that was different. I wish it was just a different way of how that happened. It didn't have to be as dramatic as like that. Like I feel like it was a lot of always like jealousy and like instability with a lot of Degrassi, but mainly especially with this part, it was just so unnecessary. Like literally, if they wanted to keep the car accident, you know, the whole don't text and drive type of message, they could have gone another way. I'm just saying, he could have been on the phone with Imogen instead of with Becky, or trying to get a hold of Becky. It could have been literally like, oh, I'm on my way back, and then, you know, swerve because maybe a drunk driver strikes him too. So it's like kind of like a double whammy of like drunk driving, but also no texting and driving either, being aware of your surroundings, but also the fact that you can't anticipate everything because ish happens, accidents happen, and it's extremely dangerous. Just, I don't know, just something about that whole jealousy issue thing just doesn't sit right with me. But the last character I would redeem is Dave. Dave was just written poorly. He was just a kid that wanted to be popular. He wanted to be cool. He drops Wes because he wants to be cool. I don't like the fact that his dad's a cop there. I feel like that was so unnecessary. We didn't need to see his dad as the cop at the school. Like, we could have done a completely different story of him wanting to be popular. It's kind of like the stuff that they wanted to do with JT but just never did, because JT wasn't cool, but he was always like the class clown, but people liked him. He didn't have to try to be popular. He was just him. And I feel like with Dave, they wanted to create a character that was a little bit more desperate to be cool and actually try to do different things to be cool. I think they wanted to do a character with a lot of peer pressure, but they just did it poorly. He was just poorly written, in my defense. And then when he gets with Allie, he cheats on Allie, and the girl that he cheats on Allie with gets hit by a car. I feel like that was terribly handled too as well. Like, I feel like Dave as a character wouldn't mess anything up with Allie as soon as he gets with Allie, because he was so gung-ho about being with Allie and being so into Allie the entire time. And you think he's gonna cheat on her? Oh no. I feel like if anything, Dave would have probably stalked her. Not in like the dangerous way stalking, of just being like, oh, she's I see that she's like on the campus or whatever, constantly bringing her food, and maybe Allie is like, I'm busy, and he's just like, you make no time for us. That would have been a more interesting story for Dave when it comes to dating Allie, and maybe even like finding confidence in himself to realize that maybe this isn't gonna work, because clearly you're focused on your education, but I want to be with you. And being able to find some confidence and strength within himself to say, you know what, I love you, but I'm not going to keep doing this, because if we're not going to be focused on each other, then I don't know what to do. Which is completely normal, because that's what happens in high school. There's going to be people who are more interested in relationships and those who are more interested in schoolwork, and it's going to clash. But that's a real world experience, especially as you get older too. There are people who are more career focused than relationship focused, and that actually clashes with adults, so it makes a lot of sense. So I would have loved to see Dave with a different storyline for that. By the way, R.I.P. Jamil. Like, I feel like his character could have just deserved a lot better. Yeah. Class of 2015. So we have Jonah, Jack, Jess, Sadie, and Cam. I'm just gonna spoil it right now. I feel like everyone besides Cam should be redeemed. We didn't get anything with Jonah, really, to be quite honest. Even with going into Next Class on Netflix, there wasn't much on Jonah. Like, all of a sudden we find out that Jonah has a son, that he is in rehab, or was in rehab. He used to be. I think it was like used to be an alcoholic or at least be addicted to some type of substance. Like, we don't get anything. We get like those bits and nuggets. It's like, oh, I didn't know that, because we don't get to know Jonah at all, like his entire story. Like, I would have loved to have seen Jonah's story in general, because there was like nothing there. And for him to be part of the class of 2015 to graduate, the only focus was Cam and Cam's depression the entire time. He was the only character within that class, that technical graduating class, that got any attention. And he ends up, it's odd to me how no one else in this class got any attention. Yes, boo. Next up is Jack. We see Jack for a little bit just as Imogen's potential girlfriend. She is polyamorous. That's all we get from her. She's polyamorous and she likes to dance. Just give us something. Like, I don't know. It's just, they gave us nothing. And she gave me like Taylor Swift vibes with her red lipstick and her braid. That could have also been the height of Taylor Swift too as well. So they were like, oh. They meet the actress and they give her this look, but they don't give her anything else. They don't give her any substance. I would just love to see Jack do anything. Like, just give her some type of storyline. I don't even care if it's like 3 episodes. Give her something. Same thing with Jess. Like, I don't remember Jess. And now that I'm thinking about it, wasn't Jess Jess was Wesley's girlfriend, if I'm remembering correctly. The redhead. I think that was Jess, because Sadie was the tall girl that Dave was dating. We don't get anything from Jess. She just dated Wesley and that's it. Same thing with Sadie, dated Dave. We don't get anything from her too. She's tall and Dave was insecure about their height difference. We don't get anything for these characters, like no storyline whatsoever. Like, I would love to have just given them something. Like, y'all took all this time, all of that's pretty much when they introduced Jonah, Jack, Jess, Sadie, and a little bit of Cam, a little bit. It was like so much focus was on Claire's situation. We had a lot of Jenna and KC with giving up the baby for adoption. We had the little bit of story with Wesley and Jess. We didn't get anything from them. Like, they introduced them in such a late and weird way to give them any type of storyline. So then we have everyone's minds is wrapped around all the main characters, and then you introduce new characters and you don't give us anything besides that they're the exes or current potential love interest for the other characters that were already there. Like, I see there's no point in that. I feel like that class in general could have been changed differently. Like, if you're really gonna stick with these characters, give them something. But I feel like other characters could have been in this class, because it was so weird. That will get into like my why and things, additional things that I would alter about Degrassi. Next up, 2016, we have Tiny, Grace, Winston, Miles, Maya, Tristan, Zig, Zoe, Tori, Esme, and Goldie. Tiny, terrible storyline. Next, Grace. I would say Grace had a pretty good storyline, especially with her illness. I forgot the exact term, but her storyline was good. Winston, they gave Winston nothing. They just made him wow, Miles is best friend, but he didn't do anything. He dated Frankie for a little bit, but that's it. Like, they don't give Winston anything. He kissed Lola. It was just, they didn't give Winston anything. He he has a podcast with Adam, if I remember correctly. I think it was him and Adam that had a podcast. Yeah. But that's it. We don't get anything else. And it's so frustrating when we have such amazing characters like that they don't give us anything. So definitely Tiny and Winston are already on my list for characters that deserve a second chance, because they just didn't give them anything. Like, they were just there. They just existed. And it was very sad to watch, because I'm like, what else about Winston? I'm like, Winston's a cutie. I would have loved to see him have like a full fleshed out story. I'm just saying. Maya pretty much dominated the season, and I love her storyline. I love the progression from Cam's death all the way up to Next Class. This literally the season of the Next Class, when they were bringing back the characters after the bus crash, I was highly anticipating it to be exactly how it was for Maya's plotline, for her character. That is exactly what I wanted. I wanted her to actually like understand what it was like to feel the way that Cam was feeling, and actually kind of like sit in those emotions, and truly understand where he was coming from, because I felt like that would have been the great thing for Maya as a character, and they did go that way, so thank God. But yeah, she was a really good character. The music written by, I think her name was Sheba. She wrote a lot of the songs for Maya's band. A1 songs, absolutely love them. Tristan, I wouldn't redeem Tristan's character, but I also don't like Tristan's character either. That's just me. He's just, I don't know what to say about him. Just highly frustrating, especially when Maya told Principal Simpson about his little affair thing with the teacher, weird situation. He got mad at her for no reason. I'm just like, really? It was creepy. It was weird. The teacher was weird. Same thing with Mr. Oleander and Miss O. Both weird. Both weird. I never approve of that. So it's not even just like just because it's a gay couple, because they're not really a couple. Like a gay teacher-student relationship. No, a teacher-student relationship is bad regardless of their sexuality. Don't put that together. Don't ever put that together. It's terrible. I don't like it. Zig's character is complicated. He's complicated and messy, and I don't think he deserves a second chance, or like a redo. But there's just certain things about Zig that I would change differently, but not necessarily I would give him like a complete second chance. It's just certain things. I don't even know like how to describe it. Just, I guess like, again, with the gang affiliation, like I don't know why we keep having to have gang affiliation. Like, is gang activity that prevalent in high schools? Like, involvement like that? Like, I don't know. I went to school in the city, and even then, in the school I went to, we didn't have students like at that extent, at least not that I know of, but literally a lot of the students in my school, I went to school on the south side of Chicago, but a lot of those students, they didn't do any affiliation with that. Like, that's not what a lot of the students at my school were like. A lot of the kids at my school were very academic focused. Obviously, we were all teenagers making stupid mistakes, but no, there was no like gang affiliation or that type of environment at my school. So I don't know how prevalent that is for Canada. Like, I don't know if they just kept wanting to add that in there, being like, ooh, teens might do, like they probably do deal with gang activity or deal with that type of social pressure. It's like, yeah, but not all the time. I'm confused. Like, what kids are, what community is this? Like, what is this like? It was just odd for me. Zoe, I don't like Zoe whatsoever, but I do feel like Zoe should be redeemed. And that's going all the way back to when they had the storm. This is pretty much the part where Tristan and Miles get together, where Zoe and Maya end up going to the dots to wait out the storm. After that, Maya and Zoe should have been fine. There should have never been any inkling or any bad blood between them after that. But yet, we still have more drama with Zoe. She literally slept with Zig to get back at Grace for not being interested in her. So you're getting back at Grace, but you're also getting at Maya, who you just said was your friend now, and you're also messing up her relationship with Zig. If you really were friends with her, you wouldn't be doing that. Like, if you really were hurt, you would talk to Maya about that and be like, what can I do? Or like, oh my God, like this really hurt me. It really hurt my feelings. But Zoe is such a reactive character that she doesn't care who she hurts. So I don't care what anybody has to say about Zoe being a redeemed character, because she's not a redeemed character. She's a terrible character. But they should have stopped all of that nonsense at that moment of the storm. I'm just saying. Like, following that, everything else, I don't know what they were doing with her, but they literally just messed up the entire character. Like, y'all literally had her fix her relationship with Maya, and y'all just really just shit on it. It pissed me off with that. It really did piss me off. And then you want me to like her after she gets raped, and then she becomes a lesbian, and all of a sudden she's a redeemed character because of that. That's not how it works. I still don't like her. Like, I don't know how that happened, but it makes it seem like the writers and producers just made things happen to her and then try to make her redeemed, and it made no sense to me. It still doesn't make any sense to me. I don't like her for that. I don't like how they wrote her and had her change her behaviors from then on and actually like be a friend to Maya. She could have been friends with Tristan, and even when Tristan and Maya had their differences, she could have been the neutral person to just been like, first of all, Tristan, it was weird. It was a weird relationship. I do agree Maya shouldn't have called it out on it, but it was weird. It was inappropriate. And everyone's just looking out for you. And if you feel like that she wasn't looking out for you and that she was, blocking you from finding love, that's something for you to process. But it was weird. And even if Tristan like kind of gives Zoe the cold shoulder, at least Zoe would have been the middleman to at least give some type of sense, because Zoe was a straight shooter. She was a straight shooter kind of character, no nonsense. She didn't hold back. But that would have made more sense than doing whatever the hell they wrote her to do and experience. I'm just saying. And especially with the fact that after Maya's situation with Cam, she does become a little bit more overly protective and overly involved in other people's lives to make sure that they don't make any bad decisions, which is not her responsibility. And I would have loved for Zoe to actually have that connection with her, to show her like, that's not your business. Like, not even that to be rude, but just to be like, that's not your business, that's not your decision. Like, I would have loved to see them actually like connect on a deeper level, especially after the Cam situation, because Maya didn't talk to anybody about Cam after that. I don't even remember she barely even talked to Tristan about the whole thing either. So like, I would have loved to have seen her talk to Zoe and been like, so this happened before you got here, and this is why X, Y, and Z, why I told on Tristan, why I was so hell-bent on protecting Miles because of what this experience. Zoe would have been her friend after that. Like, I feel like that would just been a lot better for Zoe as a character, because it was a mess. And Maya needed like a friend. This was before she meets Grace. Zoe and Maya could have just been like great friends. I don't know why they wrote her like that. She should have been rewritten. Tori, we don't see Tori at all, really. Because Tori leaves, but she's part of the class with Maya because of when Maya's introduced to Zig. Tori is Zig's ex-girlfriend, you remember. But the thing is, Tori shouldn't have been a character. That's how I would give her a second chance. I would just completely cut the character out, and she was already playing Angela. At that point, Craig graduates. Angela she should have been about this high school age going into the class of 2016, or at least been introduced somewhere around there. I would have loved to have seen her just played as Angela, as Craig's half-sister. Like the original freaking storyline is. I feel like that would have been a lot more interesting to actually have a family member who is bipolar and navigating life as a teenager when it comes to having those type of pressures and that type of family background, because literally Angela's character, even though she was young, she did have such a tough background for a child. Her mom dies. Her half brother is not around. As she gets older, she actually starts to probably see Craig. He might do drugs in the privacy of in the bathroom or something, and she walks in on him doing that. I don't remember if she was, I don't know if Angela's character was there in the scene when Craig was punching Joey. I don't remember, but that would have been something too for her to experience. This is literally Angela as a character has been through so much, and they should have just kept her as that character and just gave her that background, that storyline, all that history, and just do something with her character throughout the show. I'm just saying, like, you literally had the same freaking actress and you just create a whole freaking other character. That makes no sense to me. That was the dumbest thing you guys could have ever done. That's just how I would give Tori a redemption, just Xing her out and just putting Angela and giving her own story. Esme's story, good enough for me. Goldie's story, good enough for me. But that's class of 2016. Now on to the last class, 2017. We have Frankie, Hunter, Lola, Shay, Arlene. She's mentioned on the Degrassi website. She even has a picture, but I don't recognize her. We have VJ, Yal, Baz, Saad, and Rasha. Frankie, I don't have anything to say about Frankie. I'm gonna move past her. Just because of just like, what? Hunter, I feel like he had a good storyline. He's very much the incel of the show. Even the incel, but just like that white cis hetero man. Exactly. Lola should have been redeemed. She had no business getting with Miles. I'm just gonna say that. She was lonely. I would have loved to have seen her, like, because I know when they have Lola with, why am I blanking on his name right now? When she had Lola with Tiny, she was seen as immature to his group of friends, but I would have loved to have seen like how Lola was just like not even hanging out with Frankie. Shay was doing her own thing. I would love to have seen Lola like just like wandering the halls and running into Maya, that type of thing, because Maya was isolated too because she was at the height of her depression, and having them have interactions with each other. It feels like everything is so isolated with the characters that they don't even like cross generations and be friends. And they'll do that with like some of the characters, but it's not, it's like in passing. It's like, oh yeah, they're friends. But it's like, but are they? We don't really see much of them together, especially in the show or even having discussions. Like, it's just not there. I would love to have seen Lola and Maya like connect and become friends, especially since they were both going through a lot of loneliness. Maya was more so of her depression, and even then she still could have been isolating herself even from Lola, but then still that would have been something that they would have had in common a little bit. Shay should have been rewritten too. We didn't have anything really about Shay, minus the whole Tiny situation, feeling insecure in her abilities to be Tiny's girlfriend, not being experienced. But that's really it. And even then with that, it wasn't even that fleshed out, because obviously there are a lot of us black women who were black teenagers who were never experienced because of such strict parents. But I would love to have seen more about that. Like, there's ways that, you know, we got around from that, you know, still being without our parents knowing. And I would love to have seen Shay do that more so, of like, struggling with trying to have this nice image of her and still follow her parents' rules, but still being a teenage girl and experiencing the other side of it too as well, of like even like maybe dressing a little bit more provocative, and then her, Lola, and Frankie like going out and having someone try to talk to her or something like that and call her fast or whatever, that type of thing. I would have loved to have seen that kind of commentary towards how the terrible stigma and stereotype of black girls is that if we dress a certain way, we're fast. We too look like, oh, you asking for attention, you asking for this kind of stuff to happen to you, which is completely incorrect. Or what's the common word? Grown. You think you grown. And it's like, no, I'm just expressing myself. But I'd love to have seen that for Shay's storyline, but we don't see that in detail, obviously, because they don't know what to do. They didn't know what to do with Shay's character. Arlene should have been redeemed because I don't know who the hell that is. Never seen her a day in my life. Insert the Kiki clip.
This man is, I mean, he could be walking down the street. I wouldn't know a thing. Sorry to this man.
VJ, yeah, VJ should have been redeemed. They didn't give me anything about VJ. They didn't give me anything. Well, they gave me stuff about Yao with their identity situation going on. I was thinking about the next character. So Yao's character has more backstory and a better storyline. Baz, we got nothing. He's just like the comedic relief, a-hole type of character. Saad, we get some background when he's connecting with Maya about his village, his hometown, and the bombs that went off and everything like that. All of that extreme devastation to his family, but we don't see any more than that. Like, there is the time where he is like talking to people who are part of like a terrorist group, but he was lonely. I just would have loved to seen him. I just love to have seen more for Saad. Like, we really could have delved into what it's like for him to have experienced what he experienced, maybe have some PTSD. Love to would have seen like some flashbacks and maybe some trauma related to that. The extreme depression that comes with it too. We already had Maya in her depression, but if you're gonna make such heavy characters, and especially within the next class, and have such heavy topics, go all the way. Like, apparently y'all go there, but y'all didn't really go there. Like, let's be honest. Like, they could have done a lot more with Saad's character and really like showing the anguish of a character who has experienced the worst of the worst. Rasha's okay. Like, her, I feel like her I think that would have been a good contrast from Saad's perspective and experience, because with Rasha, like, she doesn't wear her hijab. She feels a little bit more comfortable in herself. She is openly gay. That would have been a nice difference from Saad. There's a character I'm missing. It's Goldie. Okay. Never mind. Goldie's story was good. I was thinking about, I don't know why, but I saw Goldie's face, but I forgot that was her name. My mind just went. Now that we've covered all of the characters I would redeem, let's go to the main question. Let's go back to the main question. Why did the producers fail these characters? These are my reasons why. I think this is my opinion, my perspective. Don't block me. Like, don't cancel me. This is just my opinion. But these are the things that I think that they didn't want to write about the Black experience. And I say they didn't want to write it because not that they couldn't write about it, because that kind of gives them leeway of being like, oh, they didn't know what to do. Like, that these are grown adults who were writing the show and producing the show for 30 years. They've done research. They've done the necessary things to get information on like teen pregnancy and experiencing sexuality as a teenager. They've done the research on that. Why couldn't y'all have done the research when it comes to dealing with Black characters? Y'all just didn't want to. Maybe they could have thought, oh, it's a touchy subject, and it's like, it wouldn't be a touchy subject if you just talk to the right people, talk to actual Black teenagers, talk to actual like Black families in Canada of what it's like for their Black teens. It's not that complicated. You've done all the other research before. Why not do this for your Black characters? Because they've literally failed every single fucking Black character. They failed every single one. Even Liberty was terribly written. I'm just saying, like, clearly they didn't want to do the work for our black characters. So that's just like my main stance on that. Next up, lack of care for characters. I think they really just stopped caring for a lot of characters, or they just literally, it feels like they had other stuff so thoroughly planned out for other characters, and then the other ones, they were just like, oh yeah, we're gonna forget about them. Or like, oh no, we're not gonna write anything for them. Okay, but you literally wrote them on the show. And you're just gonna have them be about. If you're gonna literally hire this actor or actress for this show, you should be giving them a decent amount of screen time with the actual storyline. Other than that, you just hired them to be background characters, and you should have just left them as background characters. I'm saying, like, they're like, oh, well, I gave you a shot. It's like, but you also gave them nothing. Like, it doesn't make any sense to me on how that even happened for those characters. Also, too many characters. They had too many characters. They couldn't keep up. They had so much focus on so many, like, specific characters, but then they introduced characters with part of those characters, like, main stories going on. And so now we have these other characters and we don't know who they are, but somehow they're important, but somehow they're not important because they're part of their friend group, but they're not part of their friend group because you just introduced them. Which leads to my next point. Season overlaps with characters. Literally. Like, at the beginning, when they introduced Marco, that was cool. Because you hear about Marco when Spinner and Jimmy had their contest. They're at the dance, because at first they were going to do a piece, they were going to dance together, but then they had their confrontation, they had their issues, and then they have Marco. You hear Marco as the background character actually win the dance competition, and then we actually get Marco as like a main character. But with other seasons, I don't know what it is, but you overlap the characters, but you gave them nothing. Like, literally, you introduce Shantae during a sleepover with Emma, Manny, and Liberty, but you don't give her any storylines for God knows how long. You completely forgot about her. You had no reason to introduce her then if you're not going to do anything with her. Like, don't introduce a character and don't do anything with them. Like, just leave the actor or actress as a background character and say, hey, next season when we shoot for the next class, then we'll focus on you. But we're not going to be doing introductions to new characters without giving them a proper storyline, because then literally this is what you end up doing. You introduce characters and they just fall into a black hole. Like Kendra, you introduce Kendra for Toby to have a love interest, but then you don't come back to Kendra at all, like she never existed, when we know she existed. There's literally proof of an episode or two of Kendra existing, but then you don't show her at all. Even when Spinner gets cancer, you don't show Kendra, like, even him talking to Kendra on the phone, you don't show anything in relation to him and Kendra being siblings when you literally showed her before. It kind of makes me feel like we're being gaslit. Also, too, Manny even says in the beginning of The Next Generation that she has a brother, but we never hear anything about the brother throughout the rest of the show. We never see the brother help her deal with the Peter situation when her film is out. When she has an abortion, we don't hear about this brother anymore, but we hear about him for like 2 seconds and then he's never mentioned again. Don't give us something and then expect us to like forget about that character. Like, that character existed, or at least what you guys portrayed around this character existing was there. Like, the only character that it made sense to have like a little secret thing about was Heather Sinclair. But everyone else, like, don't introduce characters and not give them anything. Like, it was a waste of time. Should have just never introduced the character in the first place, because now you have us fans who are still like, y'all never did anything with them. Like, and truly just frustrated with that. Next point is lack of creativity. And I know I love Degrassi, and I'm saying a lot of these points with a lot of passion and a lot of aggression. I love Degrassi, but there's a lack of creativity. They use the same freaking concepts and themes for every single season, and even for multiple characters, for no reason whatsoever. Like, why did literally Allie, Claire, and Jenna deal with the teen pregnancy? They're in the same generation. They're in the same class. Why? unnecessary. Like, I understand showing different depictions of teen pregnancy, but you don't need to do it all within the same freaking graduating class. Like, you could have sprinkled it in like once every other class, not literally all in the same one. It's overkill. Like, we have seasons, several seasons, like what I said about the gang activity. Is gang activity that prevalent in high schools? Because I'm so confused, because it made it seem like this is happening all the freaking time. And I know not a lot of schools have that happen all the freaking time. If anything, the more accurate one that they did for next class was the school thing with Hunter. That was more accurate. The whole situation with Rick, that was more accurate, because that happens a lot more. But they had that so completely separated. That's like, what was it, like a good like 10-year difference for the Rick and Hunter situation? They could have had another one in the middle. Like, I feel like that one was more prevalent than teen gang activity. I don't know. Maybe that's just me. Let me know in the comments if maybe you experienced it very prevalent in your school. But it's Degrassi, and I know it started off as Degrassi Community School, but then they developed to Degrassi High School, and the way that they depict the school, it feels as if the school it's not like an inner city school to the point of where they have a lot of negative outside influences like that. Like, we have a principal who's dedicated to school, is constantly painted and updated. They get new computers, they put money into the school. They have uniforms at one point, for Christ's sake, and that's not cheap. But somehow the gang affiliation happens all the freaking time. I don't see the correlation with that. It's just baffling to me. And the last one is dependence on relationships. I love Degrassi to death, but not every single character needs to have a relationship every single 5 seconds, like Jimmy. All Jimmy's character did was date. We don't have anything else. That goes back to introducing characters. You introduce characters just for those characters to date them, but then you let those characters just disappear, like as if they never existed. There was too much dependence on relationships, and I get high school is about relationships. High school is about dating, but high school is also about friendships. It's about building those connections. Like, we had more about Manny and Emma's friendship and their tumultuous relationship, to be quite honest. We have more information on Anya and Holly J's weird friendship, but it's not really a friendship because Holly J was pretty much just like the bully to her. But, and also it was just very weird to me. Like, we have Claire and Allie, we showed a good friendship there, but we didn't really showcase a lot of like unique friendships either. It was just very weird. And also, or just like fixing certain relationships with each other. That's not romance based. Like I said, we don't have a scene where Jenna apologizes to Claire. We don't really have parts where Casey apologizes to Claire. We don't have parts where Bianca finally realizes that what she did was terrible and that maybe she needs to be a better person after what she did to Allie. Drew doesn't really come back from that because he's constantly dealing with Bianca. We have Bianca and Allie. We have Bianca, Allie, Drew. We have Drew, Bianca, Katie. Like, there's just too many like romantic relationship issues going on. Like, high school is more than that. Like, it's about your friendships. It's about building connections with other people. The unlikely friendships. Like, if they really wanted to put Spinner and Emma together and actually make sense of them getting married, I would have loved to have seen them actually talk to each other more than the one time that they did at the beginning of the show. Like, you just gave us Spinner helping Emma with her science project, and then we don't get anything later, and then all of a sudden they get married. Like, give us something in the middle. Like, give us some pieces to that puzzle of like, oh, that's interesting how they end up there, because they did end up having like those kind of moments together. Like, it's just baffling to me, like how much they fumbled when it comes to friendships with a lot of these characters, or even just like solving the romantic relationships in any type of way. Also too, another point, when it came to like I'm trying to remember. But with like, I can't remember which character it was, but it was some type of situation. I don't remember what season. Like, it's in my head, where one of the characters, I think it was Sav, to be quite honest, because Sav knows Allie and Claire are best friends. But then when it comes to just like different situations going on with Allie or just stuff like that in general, you don't have Sav talk to Claire when that character knows that they're friends, or they have certain characters who are best friends with other characters, but then other characters who know that character act like they don't know the other character. That doesn't make sense to me, because if you know that character, if character A knows character B and character B is best friends with character C, how does character A not know C? It doesn't make any sense to me. I get maybe they're not close, but you still know they exist. It's not like, oh, I'm just now meeting this character for the first time ever. It's like you've been in the school with them for like the past 3 years together. You never knew they existed? It's so confusing. It's so odd. And just the constant romantic relationships was just so daunting. We don't need a love triangle or a love square every season or every other season. We don't even need it every other season. We need it like once every 3 seasons. It's just not that necessary to have so many romantic relationships that have so much focus on that. When there's a lot of nuance and a lot of friendships that were crumbling that could have been repaired, or at least have characters talk to each other. Like, even with like Danny and Derek, when they had their falling out, like that makes sense. And we never see Derek again. I don't know. It's just certain things that just didn't sit right with me when it came to how they depicted romantic relationships and other friendships and other connections, because it just doesn't make any sense how these characters don't know each other and don't talk to each other, and how the storylines between them don't make any sense with what lined up a season ago. Like, case in point, Claire, Allie, and Jenna. Allie hated Jenna from the straight. From on site, Allie hated Jenna. She said, I don't like her. Claire was the one that was like, no, let's give her a chance. And then after the whole situation with Casey, Allie said, see, that's why I don't like her. I get Allie wanting to be popular, but why make Allie best friends with Jenna out of nowhere? That makes no sense to me. Like, Allie could want to be popular without wanting to be friends with Jenna. Like, all of a sudden, they're like talking all the time. They're hanging out as if they're best friends. I would understand more so of like, they go to practice together, and then Allie just like dips once practice is over. And if Jenna does try to talk to her, because maybe Jenna's trying to eat, like, be like, oh my God, Allie, why don't you come hang with us? She's like, nah, I'm good, I'm straight. I'm gonna go hang out with Claire. Like, that would have showed a little bit more of like, oh, there's still tension there because of the whole Claire and Casey situation. And if Jenna ran up to her, was just like, what's your issue? It's like, have you even talked to Claire? Like, you acting like you don't remember what happened. And I feel like in this aspect, it kind of makes it feel as if they think that teenagers are stupid. Like, that teenagers don't have the comprehension skills to remember how someone treated them or how that situation was. Some teenagers will literally just let shit go and move on, but that's not for every teenager. There are teenagers who literally are still like, you don't remember how you treated me literally 2 weeks ago, all of a sudden now you want to be friends? Like, it's like as if that's not a possibility in this world, as if everything has to be somewhat gung-ho and be like, oh, that wraps up that. The characters are fine now. It's like, no, they're not. Like, when did they start talking to each other again? Like, it makes no sense. Like, there's no background, there's no information there. Even like a short movie, I don't know, something in between of actually showcasing them being fine with each other, like with the Zoe and Maya situation. They showed us a little bit of resolve during the storm, And after that, they're cool up until when Zoe does everything else. But there's like no middle for, especially like with Allie and Jenna. Like there's nothing there to actually have them talk it out and combat the whole situation and everything and be able to talk to each other. And then maybe if Allie's like, well, I'll give you a shot, but you need to talk to Claire too. And then maybe Jenna does talk to Claire, but Claire's like, nah, you know what? I still don't rock with you. And then Allie would have been like, I'll be cool with you just enough because Claire is still my girl. I'm not gonna be rude and disrespectful to her, but also we're not that cool either because I told you I didn't like you from the jump. There are teenagers who literally will hold their own and stand up for themselves and stand up for their friends. And everybody's wishy-washy and just, or just like lack those boundaries. I'm just saying, it felt very odd to me, but I mean, the show's already been produced. Everything's been out for 30 years. So everything's been out for so many years now. So it's already too late to even like change anything, but these are just the things that I had in mind when it comes to certain characters that should have been redeemed and changes within the show. If you like this video, be sure to like this video, comment below a character that you would redeem. Out of all 88 characters, 90, probably I miscounted, but out of all 90 characters, what are your top 5 characters that you would redeem? And until next time, stay magical.